Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be with Mr. Arvind Tilak, who is CEO of Ascent Intellimation today. We'll talk to him. We'll have a chat with him, a casual chat with him, and let us see what are their views on Industry 4. Welcome, Mr. Tilak. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for consenting to give the interview for us. Talking about Industry 4, apart from automating, apart from making access to data more convenient, data availability anytime, anywhere to anybody, not anybody, anybody with, of course, access control. What other benefits do you think Industry 4 will fetch to the end user, particularly those which are not possible without Industry 4?
So big deliverable from Industry 4.0 or whatever name, smart manufacturing or whatever one wants to use, is going to be the competitive advantage that a company will have. And that is strategic. And we always recommend to our customers, leads and partners and whoever are that let's look at this technology at two levels. One is a tactical level where you'll go to shop floor, connect a machine, get data and all that part of it. And second is strategic and competitive advantage. What we see today is that a tactical thing is kind of being understood to some extent, I won't say fully, but the strategic part is still missing. And I think what can never be possibly done without using digital tools like Industry 4.0 and many others is the building that digital capability to build competitiveness. So if you ask me if Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing or digital is not implemented in a manufacturing company, what are you going to miss out big time is the visibility of what's happening across the organization and then reacting to those things, reacting to the market and building that competitive advantage, which otherwise is not going to be possible. This was easy when there was no competition or it was very close competition. But today in the global world, when Indian manufacturing is looking at very big opportunities possible with China plus kind of a thing that's happening, I think we should look at that as a strategic tool rather than just a tactical tool. Both things will be important. And that's my one message as far as what they will miss out or what they are missing out.
So as I gather from Industry 4, we expect it to become something like ESP, the extrasensory perception for industry. Some senses which they don't have today, they will start having once they do Industry 4. Am I right, sir?
Actually, they have the data.
Yes.
The things are happening in the shop floor. The only thing that by the time they know about it, take some studied decisions because it's not data driven, it's on hunch or it's already late. Today, people calculate OE today, consume it tomorrow. It's 24 hours gone. Okay?
Yes.
So if you just bring that real time kind of an essence to whole activity, it's going to be a big thing. And I won't say it's extra because it's still already part of the organization.
Okay.
Another very important thing is that the Industry 4.0 platform like Plant Connect will help them capture the human resources and their intelligence into the solution. Today, a lot of people talk about AI, artificial intelligence, but we say that human intelligence, which is there with you, people have been working on this machine for 30 years. They have that intuition, knowledge, and instinct to work with that machine. Let's capture that in the system, make it impersonal, but make it very, very effective. So I think these two things coming together, you're right, that ability to react and ability to proactively react and ability to interpret data and going ahead when you implement AI, ability to actually predict what can happen tomorrow, 1 month down the line on the market, on technology, on materials, on productivity, all that is going to build tremendous amount of kind of a competitive advantage and capability. Especially when you're into global supply chain, when it takes 2 weeks for your material to reach Europe, or if the European or there is a strike in what's happening in America today, how does it impact you? And you need to be able to very quickly tweak your production plan. And that's all not possible without digital. That's my submission.
Right. Yeah. Sir, as per your experience with Indian end users and buyers, do you think they are putting too much emphasis on the ROI part of it? What do they get if they invest certain amount, the short-term gains part of it? Is it being driven too much by short-term gains rather than long-term vision and strategy?
Yes, thanks for that question. And I think it's a fantastic thing. We as Indians, and nothing wrong with it, there's no negative on that. We are extremely concerned about that. And I always remember that advertisement while even going to a foreign company and looking at an aircraft, the first question he has asked is, mileage kitna deta hai?
Yes.
I mean, that whole mileage kitna deta hai is so
Yes.
much ingrained in the way we work because we were a resource poor country.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. However, when you are leveraging digital, when you're leveraging something for strategic reason, that mileage kitna deta hai should kind of not take the precedence over many other things. ROI is an important, it's an investment decision, so you will always look at. In fact, what's going to happen is that with the digital, you will be able to increase life of your machines, life of your assets, the whole throughput, people utilization, everything. So the ROI is obviously so obvious that I think the requirement or the discussion around ROI is absolutely not required. It's so obvious. When we talk about a remote asset management of a machine manufacturer, the things are so obvious that no discussion is required. So if they do a little bit of defocus from ROI discussion, I'm not saying they should completely eliminate it, but a little bit of defocus and look at the strategic part of it. Then suddenly the whole solution payback, not in concrete terms or not in kind of a, I would say in money terms, would be so fantastic, and people should be adopting it every day. I mean, that's my submission. What is again happening, and what I answered before was that the strategic part and tactical part. ROI is a very tactical issue. I put 10 rupees, do I get 12 rupees back? That's a simple thing. If strategic is that I put 10 rupees, will it make me capable to earn 20 rupees 2 years down the line? That's strategic. And that's the difference of thinking that we really need to get to.
Yeah. Sir, according to you, what would you advise the Indian companies, how they should go about this journey of digitalization?
Again, a great question, and thanks for that. A lot of companies have heard about digitalization, smart manufacturing, Industry 4.0 in some conferences. So either the CEOs and the board members have a lot of expectations, but they are not backing it up with talent and budgets. And again, if I'm going to put 100 rupees or 2 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, how quickly would I get returns out of it? And a lot of people have said, instead of doing, project like here, I might as well buy a machine. And then I tell them that the 4 machines that you already have at working at 65% level, you buy one more machine that's also going to work at 65%. So does it make sense to buy one more machine or make sure that the assets that you use work properly? So that's a perception issue. So my suggestion to all the discussions that we have is that assess yourself where you are. Are you in a business where digital is going to deliver big benefits to you, and in what form? ROI is just keep it away for a while, but for what is the environment that you work in? Are you a automotive products company or automotive ancillary company, and your major the automotive company is looking at that you must have traceability? Are you in food and beverage where genuine product is going to be a very big discussion tomorrow, right? So there are going to be some drivers which are very peculiar to your business, and digital will deliver you those. And very importantly, this assessment of yourself and assessment of the environment will bring you to a place where you will say, these are the 4 areas where or from where I want to start my digital journey. Many others will follow, but this is my low-hanging fruit. I must do it because it's obvious. I start getting benefits out of it, not just ROI, but benefits out of it. And then I build on top of that. Don't try to do everything in one go. It's bound to fail, but don't be too hesitant to not do anything. There's a golden mean to do that. Indian companies are hesitant, but this is nothing peculiar about India. We have seen this across the countries, wherever we have discussions, that reluctance or kind of inability was very high. However, if you go to Europe, the whole paradigm of non-ability of people would force them to use digital, right? Is that true for India? May not be in 100% terms, but when a company tells me we do 200% inspection, that means instead of putting 1%, we put 2 people and still we don't get results. Obviously, we are not playing the right thing. So all these facets need to be taken into account, but you have to sit with your board, with your people, with your senior team and decide how to go digital. If you just keep postponing it, that's not going to work. The world will just go by you, and I don't know what happens to your company.
Now, if I liken Industry 4 or digitalization journey as a multi-storied building,
Yeah.
so we can go always step by step. So first, let us say, build the ground floor, then first floor, then second floor. But when somebody plans to build the ground floor, should be with full understanding that 4 more floors are going to come above this.
Correct. Correct.
So that clarity, I think, should be there right from the beginning. One can go incrementally, one can grow in steps, one can go gradually, one can do low-hanging fruit first.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are fine.
Correct.
But then long-term vision should not be lost sight of. What do you say, sir?
That is true. And the foundation of digital strategy, and that's the word I would like to use, digital strategy has to be foundation of everything. The solution, technology, people, money, budgets, everything will be on top of that.
Yeah.
Are you digitally enabled, mature, and thinking about it? That should be your foundation. If that has not happened, everything else is going to fail because your foundation is not strong, right? If you're not a company which is comfortable in transparency of data,
Yeah.
digital is not going to be useful to you, right?
Sure.
And that's why you still see in government, I mean, though government is pushing big time for this transparency, faceless assessment, and a lot of things, there are people who would still like to raise barriers and say that, oh, this data is not going to be available to you, and things like that.
Yeah.
So that foundation of digital culture is, I think, the most paramount thing for building the building. The good part of digital is that you can always have a blueprint. Yes, you must have that. This is what you want to do. It's a 2 to 5 year journey. You can start with 2 months, but in between, you may be required to make some changes, alterations, adaptations, because the environment has changed, products have changed, markets have changed, political things have changed. But digital will let you do that. Right? If you are just physical, this changing or adaptation is extremely challenging, extremely expensive, and sometimes not possible. Right? So digital lets you do that. So build a foundation properly, build a plan which you might change or which you might be required to change. And depending on the situation, you will be able to adopt it. But yes, you must know where you want to go. You must have a vision of 5 years down the line, what you want to be, and then build it accordingly. Yeah.
Sir, according to you, as it stands, where does Indian industry stand in their digitalization journey? Means, have they arrived, or they are a long way, or they are just in baby steps? According to you, where we are presently?
I think the comparison between countries or amongst countries is never useful.
Yeah.
Not useful, but never, I would say, perfect, because the context and the base is very different. The reasons for digitalizations are very different. Like I told you about Europe, people problem would be a very different problem. If you look at something else, data availability would be a problem. Transparency would be a problem. Regulation would be an issue. So all these things are very country specific. Apart from country, they are very industry or sector specific. And then on top of that, they are very technology specific. Good part of technology is that the increase of technology across countries is more or less becoming uniform. I won't say it's perfect.
Yes.
If you still go to some of the underdeveloped countries or global south, that's the new term that we have coined in G20, we have a way to go. But what is very important is that not every technology is required by me, and not everything that I require can be delivered by technology. So, you have to play between the two. So coming to your question, that is industry, Indian industry really there? How do we compare with others? I think we should really compare with ourselves. As far as the Indian manufacturing is concerned today, we do anything and it sells. I mean, if you look at our auto company, they are doing phenomenal business. And one of the things which I always say is that, do we really need so many automotive? We don't have roads. So the regulation should be changed where we should allow private vehicles to be used as Uber vehicles like they do in the United States. So I have less population of vehicles on the road. Because I manufacture more autos, looks good on the balance sheet, but I don't have infrastructure to support it. So these things have to really move. But today, Indian industry is in a very big sweet spot, whether it's cost-wise, technology-wise, global opportunity-wise. So there's some amount of, I would say, complacency that whatever I do, I still go to work. I'm still going to sell. I mean, the demand side is so high that the supply side is kind of drying out. In fact, one of our customers postponed our project simply because one of his competitor in Czechoslovakia closed down, and all the orders globally were shifted to this company in India. They didn't do anything about it. It just came to them. And now they are struggling to meet those orders. So we are in a sweet spot, but this will not last. And we should be aware that this is not going to be a honeymoon time forever. We need to be prepared for bad times. And when you are in good times, preparing for bad times is what makes sense. When it's bad times, you have no time to prepare for bad times. So Indian industries, to that extent, I would say, needs to kind of reinvent themselves. In terms of people smartness, I think Indian shop floor operators, managers are extremely technology savvy. They have no problems in adoption of technology. If the problem is shown, it is simply because of some other reason, said or unsaid reasons, but otherwise I don't see any problem. So we have English speaking as no problem there, technology adoption, no problem, environment, no problem, global opportunity, no problem. So we are sitting in a sweet spot. We can do more and we need to do more. And that's how it's going to happen.
At one time, it was said that India was lagging 50 years behind in technology as compared to the developed world in terms of, let us say, automotive technology, or I mean the way people live, the lifestyle kind of things.
Yeah.
Now we can plainly see that if you talk of mobile technology, maybe we are lagging by just 1 year or 6 months, not behind that.
Yeah.
Because any model of cell phone which comes anywhere in the world, in 6 months you see it in India as well. Now, that being the case, why the overall infrastructure is a little behind as compared to rest of the world?
I would divide technology in two parts. One is the consumer technology,
Yes.
which mobile phone is.
Yes.
And Indian consumers are extremely hungry for everything today. I mean, you look at the iPhone 15 costs, what, 1.6 lakh rupees or something?
Yes, yes.
And there was a queue there. So are we
And
resourceful?
people are not talking of ROI there.
Exactly. No ROI. I mean,
No, right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not an iPhone fan, but
Yeah.
I will stop there. So there's a consumer technology where we are extremely good. We have everything top of the world. I mean, when Apple came out with their golden phone, China and India were where they sold most gold phones,
Yes.
and they were most expensive.
Yeah.
So that, I won't say that's technology, that's just convenience. And I would just stop at that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to technology where it makes a difference to my day-to-day life, to every citizen, to industry, to government, we have a gap to fill.
Yes.
And some of those gaps are okay, but some of the gaps are not okay. And what we are trying to do with like Vande Bharat train, I mean, when you have shortage of train tracks, the only thing you can do is increase the train speeds.
Yes.
Because that's the only way you can sweat your asset that you have. You can't create more assets. It's expensive, right? Land is expensive.
Yeah.
So not investing technology for so long into fast trains made no sense. And that's the change we are doing.
Yeah.
So Vande Bharat is a big example how we will kind of use existing constrained resources or infrastructure, but still give better services. So if your train reaches 1 hour instead of 2 hours, you can run 2 trains. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Or if you can run a double-decker train instead of single-decker train, you take twice the amount of passengers. Take the same thing in aviation, take the same in government infrastructure, governance and everything. So I think we are doing something that is very relevant to us. We are not aping the West, and that's a great thing. So we are doing what's relevant to us. Can it be faster? Of course, it can be faster. You still have roads where they make roads, but they do not paint the divider line.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense to me because that's not investment. That's just making sure that you're safe. So the safety is still not taken into account when you deploy technology. That's one thing missing. People are still kind of come second to technology. People have to be first. So all those things are happening. So I would say the consumer technology and the manufacturing technology. Manufacturing we are the best of the machines. We are doing the things. Quality is fantastic. We are exporting globally. We have no problems on that part of it. Can we be better than that? Of course we can be better. But there's no end to it.
Yes. Yes. Sir, although we call it Industry 4, do you think the same concepts could very well apply to other sectors as well? For example, you are from armed forces. Can we apply it to defense services or traffic control or pollution control and these kind of things? And what is your take on that?
Yeah. So Industry 4.0 is a German term, right?
Yeah.
It was their program. We have been using it like as if it belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But anyway, the fact is that digital enablement or digital transformation is relevant to every single sector. And what we have done in terms of the phone payments, and there were people who said that Indian people will not be able to manage this. Today have been proven wrong, probably 10 million times. So technology everywhere is going to make change, and digital is going to be the biggest changer in that. So You will see the difference in that today when you're talking of the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. They're talking of a train and they're talking of a digital fiber route there, which means digital is going to be as important infrastructure and game changer as probably trains or roads or aviation. So all other sectors would take benefit. Some have gone way ahead. If you take it today, leisure and travel, it's way ahead of many other sectors. Governance in India is way ahead in some sectors, still lagging in some sectors. You talked about pollution monitoring. When we were in the United States and visited one of the pollution boards there, the data was still being, I'm talking of 10 years back, the data was still being sent on a floppy disk, where we had already started off online data monitoring. So sometimes we are ahead of the world, sometimes we are with them, sometimes we are behind. So this will happen. It's not never going to be perfect at this thing. What is very good that I see today in India, that the models we are creating, the technology that we are creating, the relevance that we are creating can be copied or can be taken up by many developing countries. And once African Union or one Southeast Asian countries or many other countries who can't afford American technology, European technology, they will get affordable, relevant, and the way they want to work. So that's what India can contribute. And India can send a different benchmark, not for global north, but for global south. And I think there we are leaders.
Industry 4 is supposed to have 9 pillars. But in India, if you see the landscape, most of the companies and service providers are focusing only on one pillar, that is IIoT, and data which directly comes off IIoT.
Yeah.
So don't you think that unless there is a uniform growth in all the 9 pillars, there will be some kind of lopsidedness in what we get into?
It's bound to be, but there are two things which are going to happen here. And that's why I say Industry 4.0 is a term that we can keep away for a while. And the pillars that are relevant to us, we need to reinvent and make it relevant here, because replacing people with robots is not going to be a great thing in India, because we need to create jobs. We are going to have so many people coming to the job market. If we don't provide the jobs to them, that's going to be social unrest. So just automation for sake of automation or digitalization for sake of digitalization is not great. I mean, what happened with the toll stations? It's a great technology step. It has plugged a lot of loopholes, but it's taken away jobs. I mean, if toll stations don't need a person there, you're taking away at least 10 jobs per toll station. What is the overall impact? I'm not saying we should go back. There is this thing. Because at that time, we also had one person cutting a ticket and one person standing outside to give it, which was also wasting.
Correct.
So our own pillars, our own definition of smart manufacturing or digital transformation for manufacturing, we need to invent. And I always recommend actually 4 pillars. I don't even want to make it complicated. Without data and without IIoT, or what's typically coming from the machines and this thing, that's again a foundation which comes immediately after the cultural kind of a thing. And if this doesn't happen, nothing else is kind of going to work. All right. So that's one pillar, which is very strong. Second pillar is going to be the talent, right? Because anything you do, talent will have to be, supporting your initiative, and talent, which also means the cultural change, adaptability, the fear in their mind that do I lose a job and everything around that. So people, I mean, that's a very important part of it. Processes. I mean, somebody talked in the theory of constraints, and he was giving an example that when they changed from a manual tool to a digital tool, initially because it was manual, the assessment used to happen once in a month. They adopted digital tool. Now they could do assessment once a day also, or every day, but they still continue to do assessment once in a month. So you're not taking benefit of the digital by going digital. So your processes, your people have to move with the technology. The additional advantages, capability that you are going to get access to have to be leveraged. So there's going to be a mindset change again there. And the fourth important thing from my perspective is the company culture. Not people, not just this thing, but a company culture from top, that I want to push digital because it benefits the company. It gives me competitive advantage. It makes work environment more safe. I can induct people, train them very quickly so they become more productive. I create more jobs because now I can export. I can double my production with the same machines. That's fantastic. So I need double the people who will work. Right. So that's all going to be very different. And I think that lopsidedness will come if we talk too much. But I think the more discussion happening more on ROI, than IOT in India.
Correct.
And I would really come back to your previous question of
yes.
that ROI, but I think we need to kind of step around that if possible, wherever possible. Yeah.
Sir, what is your vision about your company? Where do you think your organization will reach till say 2030 or so? In terms of new products, services, or scale? Yeah.
So organizational growth is one part which will continue to happen, and we are pretty upbeat about it. The product business in India is still a challenge. What we have seen is that the growth will happen like it happened in many other sectors when we become equally servicing the markets outside of India as we service in India. A model which does like 40%, 50% India and 50% outside is the best balanced business model. In industrial IoT, or especially in the product side of India, we still are constrained on that. So today, when I present my product to a US company or to an American company or a Japanese company, they still have hesitation that Indian IT services, no discussion. They're with you the next day, contract will be signed. But when it comes to product, they still don't see the same amount of maturity that Indian products can offer. And that puts a constraint not just on my company, but many other companies. Now, this has two impacts. One impact is that because we are creating or allowing to create a vacuum, because no Indian companies are there, foreign companies are stepping in and filling in that vacuum. And suddenly we see that companies from outside are taking away the smart manufacturing business from Indian companies, homegrown companies like ours, and they're taking away revenue. They're taking away our capability to build capability in India. That's more worrying.
Yes.
And structurally, what we have seen in China or Japan is that there is a benefit given to a homegrown company compared to companies from outside. In India, we actually see it the other way around. And the reluctance to get Indian products is not just with the foreign companies, it's even with the Indian company. They still want a foreign product, they don't want an Indian product. Hopefully that changes because that will allow us to grow, not just us, but anybody else. So first, the challenge that we are facing is how to get over this. And we are hoping that the Indian MNCs, Indian corporates really walk the path with us, take some amount of risk. Maybe our products are not that mature, but these guys have been working for 60 years. We have been working for 20 years. Obviously, there's going to be different, right? So give us a chance and we'll do it. We already have some companies big time working with us, and I think that will happen. So if we are able to balance this 50%, we already have customers in Gulf, we have customers in United States, but the percentage is not as much as we want. So firstly, it will help on revenue side, growth side, but more importantly, product maturity side. And if I say that Indian companies use my product and here is a use case, here is the case studies, I can go very strongly to the foreign markets and do that. So if all this happens, where my company would be, I think sky is the limit. We can grow phenomenally. We are doing also one of the things that happened in India was that everybody wanted to create everything in-house. We are changing that. So we are building a plethora of consulting companies around us. So we're building a canvas of consultants. So we have consultants who are not necessarily part of our company, but who will work in tandem with each other. So that working and collaboration, which was kind of not there, we are kind of leverage that. Cost comes down, everybody benefits, and customer will get a unified solution. So these two things are challenges for my company, and you didn't ask for challenges, but without talking of challenges, I can give the growth story. Yeah. But so all this happens, I think we are at a very big sweet spot. We have a product ready, proven, accepted by companies like global top 10 companies are accepting. The moment we have that acceptance in India, if I'm able to sell 100 products in India, I have that base and more people use it, the product gets more mature. Obviously, everybody knows about that. And then I can go to the world. And world is waiting for us to do that because our products literally are, I would say, 1/10 of the cost that the companies provide from outside.
So as it stands today, what do you think is approximate % of imports in our digitalization journey? How much of it is Indian and how much of it is still imported?
Frankly, I don't have the numbers, but if I have to hazard the guess, if you still go to the hardware side, we don't have a single Indian PLC brand. I don't know. If you know it, I would love to hear that. So every time you buy a PLC, the money is going outside. We don't have a single, I mean, there were people like Wipros and Zenith computers, But today we don't have a brand which sells you PCs and IPCs and servers. So every time you buy a laptop, money goes outside. We don't have operating systems in India. Money goes outside. So if you look at this infrastructure part of it, which supports IIoT, it's a big outgo. And I think government has tried to do something about laptop. There was a big pushback from the global world. Of course, we'll do it. I'm sure that will happen. So that's a big outflow that's happening. If you really come to solution, what I see is that the big contracts, multi-year contracts are still being taken by the biggies from outside, right? And their model is subscription model. The moment you buy, the subscription start. By the implementation happens is 9 months down the line. So 9 months of money is just wasted. By the time companies realize, and some of the decision makers in the Indian companies are very risk averse. They want to go to the brand. So even if something goes wrong, they can blame the brand. So that way, I would say still 70% of the revenue is still going outside. I do not know the exact number, but 30% is still being serviced by Indian customer or Indian companies. This is changing very rapidly because more projects fail because of this, some of these peculiar things. One of the things the Indian companies are bringing to the market is our agility, ability to service requirement changes in the requirements. Foreign company takes 6 months to just even look at your requirement, and then another 6 months to do development, testing, release. By then, your environment has changed. On our side, our turnaround is just 3 weeks. Anything that a customer wants, we give it back in 3 weeks. And manufacturing customers like that. So I think that's not a perfect number in percentage, but I would say that's roughly the numbers.
Now, while dealing with the government agencies and public sectors, is it daunting that their procedural system, bureaucracy and tendering system, the way the conditions are put, is it daunting to the startups, according to you?
It is phenomenally daunting.
According to you, what changes you would like to see in this way of working?
It's phenomenally daunting. We bid for a tender for signal monitoring system for a metro project, right? And this is absolutely up our alley, right? Getting the signals data, doing predictive part of it, maintenance, remote maintenance and everything. So we had a perfect solution. Technology-wise, everything was in place and we did that. But their condition was that you should have done 6 projects minimally in metro. There are no 6 metros in India. How would you have done 6 projects? But those people, for whatever reason, induce such conditions. And I'm sure somebody played a role there to say that 6 metro projects, because maybe somebody had done 6 metro projects and they got the tender. We did not get it. And so things like this is very daunting for a startup. We are not a typical startup. We have gone way ahead of the startup stage, but still we find it daunting. Second thing, which is very important, is some amount of risk ability. I mean, I'm not saying take risk for your signal management. Definitely not. But there are places where that risk awareness is very high. And that's what needs to change. When it comes to government tenders, we would like to have a preferential treatment for Indian companies. I don't want to even differentiate between startup and established companies, because all Indian companies in this domain or in this business are startups. Let me tell you. So if we get some preferential treatment in terms of cost, in terms of like 6 projects metro, if they say that if you are capable, your product is capable, if you can prove it, then it doesn't matter, because we will have to get first metro contract only from India. Then only we can go to Brazil or Germany and say that we have done metro project. But otherwise, if you keep ruling me out, I will never be able to do that. And what I talked about India projects and foreign projects, this 50% will happen. So government can enable this big time, but I don't think that companies should wait for government enablement to happen. Companies should structurally say that I want to support an Indian grown company, right? Here is my company, Pune, Maharashtra, India, Bharat, and I want to support it. Some amount of risk taking I will do, but I will handhold this company. A lot of companies have put together this accelerators and everything. Most of the things I see it on paper. When it comes to real projects, they do pilots and do some small thing. When it comes to real projects, it will still go to the biggies. And I've seen this with many major Indian conglomerates, and I don't see this changing. So Indian companies, I won't go so much to the government, because Metro is an Indian company. They are not government. It's a of course government participation. But these companies and Indian companies, manufacturing companies, if they change, I think we can do phenomenal.
Sir, with so many startups and MSMEs jumping in this bandwagon of Industry 4. How do you think the bigger corporate should be assured of the standardization, continuity, service support in long run, and interoperability, according to you? So what would you say to allay their apprehensions?
Yeah. Interoperability is a very big discussion, and not just Indian, everywhere. And I think the major automation companies kind of put some barriers where interoperability was not possible, or they did not allow it to happen. And one of the big objectives of Industry 4.0 project in Germany was to make sure that everything was interoperable. And they did in Germany, but the same companies, when they do it in India, they lock it up.
Yes.
So interoperability is not just for startups or for small companies or MSMEs, it's a global issue. And that has to be resolved any which way, right? But when it comes to which company or which partner to choose from, I would say the Indian companies or manufacturing companies should look at three things. One is that, is it a product that has been conceptualized and developed by the team within, or they are using a lot of components from outside? Because there's a lot of things are available. Today, people are using ChatGPT to do coding. If you buy such a product, you're bound to get into trouble, right? So make sure that you do some due diligence on how the product is developed, how it is conceptualized, how long they have taken it to develop it. If some companies say that I started 6 months back and I have an IIoT product, be a little cautious about that, right? So do due diligence of that. One. Secondly, of course, look at the client list. That's a very important thing, right? But more importantly, use the use cases that they have serviced. Most important, again, on top of all this, is look at the people who are behind all that thing. Like in our company, we have technology people, like Sujata leads the technology side. We have industry people who have worked in the industry. We have developers, we have testers, we have ecosystem. So if a company wants to go with anything, we provide the entire 360-degree view, and we do that. So I would say, choose us if possible, but that's not the point. The point here is that assess the company and make sure that you don't go by fly-by operators. Because in India, that sheep mentality is so high that the moment, there was, I don't know, you remember the craze of medical transcription.
Yes.
And we have thousands of companies. Today, you don't see even one company. We ruined ourselves in that. I hope that doesn't happen in IIoT, because there are companies springing in every nook and corner and say that we are IIoT company. That's not possible. It took 8 years for us to come to a minimum viable product. So if company comes and says 6 months we have done it, I would say be careful about that. So there are methodologies to assess this. There are models available to do that. And I think companies should use this, ask questions, assess it, meet the customers that they have serviced already, look at the shortfalls and the benefits. Both are learning experience for you. So every new customer we get, we make sure that they visit one of our existing customers. And our own customers have actually sold it better than what we could have done. That's a big plus, right? So there's a methodology available.
Finally, sir, what is your advice to young technology enthusiasts and students if they want to build a career in this domain? What should they do according to you? What capabilities they should build? What competencies and what temperament they should have?
I would like to make a little controversial kind of input here. A very big college in Pune, a good brand, they decided to close down their instrumentation department because there were no admissions. And then what they did, they started 2 other departments. One was called AI department and other was called IIoT department. In addition to CS and computers. So because people are like magnets going to computers. Yes, there is good money, there are job opportunities. I get it. But if you don't have core engineering graduates, instrumentation, chemical, mechanical, production, this sector would be starved of talent. Apart from coding, we need people who understand the manufacturing, right? And this cannot be taught, right? 4 years of experience as a textile engineer and you are a textile person, you can leverage IIoT to deliver solutions for textile. But if you're just computers, you won't know textile, you won't know mechanical, you won't know chemical. So I think my advice, and I know nobody's going to take it, people are still going to go to computers and IT and data and AI. Those branches are seeing overpopulation and instrumentation is required to be closed down. That's a sad thing. And that's what's happening. So I would request all the youngsters or people who go to that, go to computers for sure, but pick up a channel or pick up a discipline in which you want to be more than computers. Take manufacturing, take chemical, anything, but learn apart from your computers, because computers will teach you only computers. Whereas if you go to mechanical, they will teach you computers. I mean, there's no go about that now. So go to branches which are core engineering branches, because that's where we want to build our, I would say, strength and capabilities. Otherwise, we are going to be extremely, I would say, IT coolies.
Yes.
Bad term, but that's what we are becoming. Good money, good prospects, good careers, but that's not going to be long term.
Sir, I have
with,
seen.
with the chat GPT and everything coming,
Yes.
the jobs in the IT are going to be shrinking.
Correct,
That's a red flag for all the young guys.
I have seen companies in this Industry 4 business who are primarily IT companies, and they have only IT people in their team. So I kind of get scared when I don't see a single person who has had practical experience in industry in their team.
Absolutely, you said it.
Yeah.
But they build beautiful dashboards.
Yes.
Phenomenal dashboards.
Good flowcharts.
Good flowcharts.
Good flowcharts.
But
good dashboards, which are very generic.
Yeah, but what is behind that? Nothing. Sorry. But anyway.
Nothing specific related to any technology as
exactly.
such.
Exactly. So coming back to your question on the industries and people and talent and where government should intervene, I would put all that in one kind of a single basket, shake it up.
Yes.
Literally shake it up and then make things happen. Because industries have to demand, and the moment industries demand, companies will produce things, and then companies will recruit relevant people. So it's a chain. I won't blame only students. They will go to where they will get jobs. I'm sure. But if industries want mechanical engineers, at a point there was problem of not getting enough good civil engineers, because we had so many infrastructure projects coming up. And so the cyclical thing will happen. So I would shake that up together. But I would again request everybody, industries, government, people, institutions, to work together. Look at long-term goals that we should have in this business of products. We have done phenomenal in services, but now is the time to do products in India. And that's what we should be concentrating on. Medical IoT or medical digital, it's going to be a very big thing. Imaging is going to be a big thing. Can we come out with products in that, or are we still going to import that thing? Yeah. And what GE does here in India, we could do anywhere else. So I think that's what's going to happen. And I will request everybody who's watching this to really send a suggestion as to how they can help us kind of retrain our people who come from IT background to make manufacturing because that's a domain they work in. And also we would like to request the industry to kind of demand from us that unless you get somebody from manufacturing, we are not going to talk to you. And your question about how do you assess a company, this is what they're going to assess company. And so all these things together, and industries can be, because they are customer, and customer is always right. So they have to put pressure on us, they have to demand, and we'll deliver, no question about that. And this will also make sure that the flyby operators, the people who are not serious about this will get rolled out immediately, and you will have something which is solid long term, because once you invest in the industrial 4.0 product, this is going to be for life. You can't change it in between like a mobile phone. And that's where consumer technology and industry technology is very different. So I would request that from industries, from governments, from students, from institutions, everything. So don't close down your core departments like instrumentation. Be at it, demand, and I think people will come to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite your candid views, comments on this discussion that we just had, particularly on this aspect of people migrating away from core technologies. Let's have your comments on that. And thank you, Mr. Arvind Tilak, for a very nice chit chat.
Thanks a lot.
It was a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to do discussion as to how to move away from ROI, I think we can set another discussion on just that topic, because it's so large and so important. So thank you once again, and thanks a lot.